I didn't mean to notice her at first. That's the thing I keep coming back to. It wasn't a moment. It was a routine. Tuesday evenings at the laundromat on Maple were always the same. Too bright, faint smell of detergent, the hum of machines that made time feel stretched. I sat on the plastic chair near the window, phone face down on my knee, counting the minutes between cycles like that meant something. Clothes went in dirty. Clothes came out clean. Nothing else changed. Then her car pulled in. I recognized it before I recognized her. The old silver sedan with the dented bumper. My friend's mom's car. I told myself that was normal. Of course I'd recognize it. Years of pickups after practice. Birthday dinners. Dropping off forgotten hoodies. She walked in carrying a canvas bag, hair pulled back like she hadn't decided whether to stay or go. She paused when she saw me, just long enough to check her reflection in the dark glass of a dryer. "Oh," she said. "Hey, hey," came out of my mouth before I thought about it. She smiled the same way she always did, quick, polite, a little tired. She set her bag down 2 machines away, close enough to talk without raising our voices, far enough to pretend we weren't sitting together. "You still doing laundry at the last minute?" she asked. "Some habits stick," I said. She nodded like that explained something. As she loaded clothes, she folded the empty bag carefully, smoothing the creases with her thumb. I watched without meaning to. When I noticed I was watching, I looked at my phone even though there was nothing on it. No notifications. No missed calls. Just the same unsent text draft sitting there like it had been waiting. We didn't talk for a few minutes. The machines filled the space. I flicked my eyes toward her hands again when she reached for detergent, noticed the thin silver ring she wore now. New. Or maybe just newly noticed. "Your mom still hates this place," I said, then corrected myself. "I mean, sorry. Habit." She laughed quietly. "No, you're right. I do hate it." Something about the way she said it, "I do" instead of "she does," made my chest tighten. She leaned against the machine, arms crossed, eyes drifting to the spinning clothes. "You moved back after college, right?" she asked. "Yeah. Temporary," I said, even though it had been almost a year. She didn't challenge it, just nodded again. The silence after that wasn't awkward exactly. It was heavy in a way that made me aware of my breathing. I folded a napkin from my coffee cup into a square, then unfolded it, then folded it again. Pointless motion. Something to do with my hands. "You look tired," she said. "So do you," I said, then immediately felt like I'd crossed something. Her eyes met mine, steady, searching, not offended, just attentive. "Yeah," she said after a beat. "I am." The machine beeped. She startled slightly, then smiled at herself like she'd been caught drifting. As she moved her clothes to the dryer, she remembered my friend's name, mentioned him casually, asked if I'd seen him lately. I hadn't. We both knew that meant something, but neither of us said it. She wiped her hands on her jeans, even though they weren't wet. When it was time to leave, she picked up her bag and hesitated. "Hey," she said, softer now. "If you ever need anything, you know." "I know," I said. I wasn't sure what I meant by it. Outside, the night felt colder than it should have. I got in my car, phone lighting up in my hand without me touching it. A new message. Her name. I probably shouldn't have said this in there, but I'm glad you were there tonight. I stared at the screen longer than I meant to, realizing too late that this wasn't something I was supposed to remember. I didn't reply right away. I read the message, locked the phone, unlocked it again. The words didn't change. Still there. Still quiet. I told myself it was nothing. Just politeness stretched a little too thin. Still, it followed me home. A few days later, she texted again. This time it was practical. A favor, almost harmless. "I found one of your jackets. The blue one. You must have left it here ages ago." I didn't remember leaving it. That bothered me more than it should have. Her house smelled the same as it always had. Clean, faintly lemony, like something wiped down recently. She handed me the jacket at the door, then paused. "You want some tea?" she asked, already turning toward the kitchen. I should have said no. Instead, I shrugged. "Sure." She moved around the kitchen like it remembered her. Kettle on. Mug from the cabinet without looking. I sat at the table, hands folded, then unfolded, then resting flat like I was being measured for something. There was a stack of mail beside me. One envelope sat open, half tucked under another. Sorry about the mess, she said. It's not, I said, even though I hadn't really looked. We sat with the tea between us, steam curling up and disappearing. She blew on hers, took a careful sip. I used to come in here late at night, she said suddenly, eyes on the mug, after everyone was asleep, just to sit. No lights, no noise. I nodded, though I didn't know why. To feel quiet. She smiled at that, not surprised, almost relieved. Yeah, exactly. I didn't tell her I did the same thing in my car sometimes. Parked a block away from my place. Engine off. Phone dark. Just sitting until the feeling passed. I imagined telling her. I imagined her nodding again. That was enough to make my chest tighten. You know, she said, setting the mug down. People assume things about you when you're young. Like you're just passing through life. I laughed softly. And when you're not, she said, they assume you're done changing. The words landed heavier than she probably meant them to. I glanced at her hands. One rested near the mug, close enough to touch without meaning to. I didn't move. There were other things between us, unspoken but present. The photos on the wall. My friend's face, younger in each frame. The quiet knowledge of who I was to him. Who she was supposed to be to me. I should go, I said, standing too quickly. She stood too. The space between us felt smaller now, like the room had shifted while we weren't looking. At the door, she held out the jacket, then hesitated. Instead of handing it over, she brushed at the sleeve, smoothing an invisible crease. You still bite your nails, she said lightly. I looked down. She was right. I hadn't noticed. Some habits stick, I said. Her fingers lingered a second longer than necessary before letting go. Not a touch, exactly. Just close enough to feel. As I stepped outside, she didn't wave. Just watched. Calm. Thoughtful. I don't know why that moment stayed with me. Maybe because it felt like someone finally saw me. After that, things shifted without announcing themselves. Her replies came slower. Not distant, just measured. Like each word had been checked before being sent. I told myself that was normal. People get busy. People reconsider. Still, I started noticing the gaps. The hours. The way I'd open my phone without realizing why. I stopped going to the laundromat on Tuesdays. It wasn't a decision. More like a quiet correction. I told myself it was time to find a different routine. Something that didn't feel borrowed. A week passed. Then another. When she finally texted, it was early evening. Are you avoiding Maple now? Or is that just a coincidence? I stared at it longer than necessary. Typed. Deleted. Typed again. Just busy. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Then, I see. Nothing else. I ran into her 2 days later at the grocery store. Middle aisle. Canned soup. She was holding 2 brands, comparing labels like the choice mattered. When she looked up and saw me, something crossed her face, surprise first, then something like relief that didn't fully settle. Hey, she said. Hey. We stood there too long. A cart rolled past us. Someone coughed nearby. You look thinner, she said, then winced. Sorry. That came out wrong. It's fine, I said. It wasn't exactly. But it wasn't wrong either. She put one can back, kept the other. I noticed her hands were shaking just slightly. I wondered if she noticed mine were still. My son's out of town, she said too casually. Conference. Oh, I said. I didn't ask where. I didn't need to. At the checkout, she waited until I finished paying, then fell into step beside me in the parking lot. The sky was low and gray, like it might rain, but hadn't committed. I didn't mean to make things strange, she said. Not looking at me. I know. Silence again. That familiar weight. The one that made ordinary moments feel edged. She stopped walking. I stopped too. Too close now. I could smell the soap she used. Something clean. Familiar. This can't be, she paused. Exhaled. You know. I know, I said again, but this time it felt like a question. She finally looked at me. Really looked. Her eyes didn't flinch. Didn't soften either. I don't know what you want, she said quietly. And that scares me. The words landed hard. Not because they accused, but because they were fair. I thought about saying something careful. Something that would let both of us step back with dignity. Instead, I reached out and brushed my thumb against the edge of the grocery receipt still in her hand, straightening it for no reason at all. She didn't pull away. Her breath caught. Just a little. I should go, she said, but her feet didn't move. Neither did mine. The space between us felt charged now. Not romantic, just aware. Like the moment before a decision you can't undo. She lifted her hand, stopped halfway, close enough that I felt the warmth of it near my jaw. Her eyes dropped to my mouth, then back up, like she hadn't meant to. For a second, everything narrowed. The parking lot, the cars, the rules we both knew. Then footsteps. A voice calling her name from across the lot. She stepped back instantly. The moment broke cleanly, like it had never existed. "I'll see you around," she said, already turning away. I watched her go, heart loud in my chest, knowing how close we'd come, and how much harder it would be next time to stop. It happens on a bench. Not a dramatic one. Just the wooden kind near the park where the paint is peeling and the screws show. She's already there when I arrive, sitting straight, hands folded like she's waiting for an interview to start. I almost turn around. Almost. Instead, I slow down, give her time to notice me on her own. "You didn't have to come," she says when I sit. "You asked," I say. She nods, looks out at the path instead of at me. People pass. A dog pulls at its leash. Somewhere, a phone rings and doesn't get answered. "I saw you yesterday," she says. My stomach tightens. "Where?" "With her," she says. Not accusing, just stating. "At the cafe by the bus stop." I don't ask who her is. I know. A girl I've been seeing. We're trying to. Someone age-appropriate. Someone safe. Someone whose laugh doesn't stay with me after she leaves. It wasn't. I start, then stop. There's no clean ending to that sentence. "I know," she says quickly. Too quickly. I'm not asking for an explanation. Silence stretches. The bench creaks when she shifts her weight. "I shouldn't have noticed," she adds. That's the problem. I watch her hands now. One thumb rubbing the other. Back and forth. Like she's erasing something. "Why did you ask me here?" I ask. She exhales, long and controlled. "Because I'm losing track of where the lines are." That lands heavier than anything she's said before. "I don't do this," she continues. "I don't sit on benches having conversations I can't explain later. I don't think about who someone is with when I'm not there." I swallow. My mouth feels dry. "You don't have to." "I know," she says. Then, quieter, "But I do." The air between us changes. Not charged. Exposed. Like something uncovered and left in the open too long. "I keep telling myself it's just concern," she says. "That you remind me of a time when things felt unfinished." That's what I tell myself. "And what don't you tell yourself?" I ask. She finally turns to look at me. Her eyes are steady, but there's something thin underneath, like a crack in glass. "That I notice when you pull away," she says. "That it bothers me more than it should. That when you don't text, I imagine reasons that have nothing to do with you." I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. I thought I was the only one doing that. She almost smiles. Almost. We sit like that, shoulder to shoulder, but not touching. Close enough to feel warmth. Far enough to pretend we aren't. "This has to stop," she says. Not firmly. Not convincingly. "Does it?" I ask before I can stop myself. Her jaw tightens. She looks down, then back up. "I don't trust myself right now," she says. And that scares me. I want to reach for her. Not to kiss. Just to steady. I don't. My hands stay in my lap, clenched. Her voice drops. "Tell me what you want." The question hangs there between us. Soft. Dangerous. Unanswered. I open my mouth. And don't know which truth would ruin us faster. After the bench, she goes quiet in a way that feels deliberate. Not cold. Not angry. Just sealed. Messages still come, but they're thinner now. Practical. Safe. No questions that linger. No pauses that invite more. I tell myself this is what restraint looks like when someone actually means it. I tell myself I should be relieved. Then she cancels lunch. Then a walk. Then a casual maybe later that never circles back. I stop suggesting things altogether. It feels like touching a bruise just to see if it still hurts. A week later, I hear it from someone else. My friend calls, voice distracted, talking about flights and delays, then drops it like it's nothing. "Mom's been seeing someone. Old friend, I think. From before." I don't ask questions. I don't need details. My chest does something strange, tightens, then empties out, like it skipped the part where it was supposed to react. Good for her, I say, and I mean it. I think. That night, I walk past her house without planning to. Lights on in the living room. Curtains half open. A silhouette moving inside. Someone taller than me, maybe. Or maybe that's just how distance works. I don't stop. I keep walking like this was always the route. The next time we see each other, it's brief. Accidental. Outside the post office. She's holding a stack of envelopes, one pressed flat against her chest like it matters more than the rest. Hey, she says. Hey. Her smile doesn't quite land. Mine probably doesn't either. You okay? I ask, immediately regretting it. She nods. Yeah, just busy. I notice the ring again. The way she twists it when she thinks. I wonder if she did that with him too. I wonder why I'm wondering. I should go, she says, stepping back before I can respond. Yeah, I say. Of course. She hesitates. Like she might say something else. Like she's weighing it. Then she doesn't. She turns and walks away, posture straight, controlled. That night, I write a message I don't send. I heard. I hope you're happy. Delete. I miss the way you looked at me like I was a real person. Delete. Did I imagine it? Delete. The phone goes dark in my hand. The room feels unfinished. Like a thought interrupted mid-word. I don't feel heartbroken. I feel paused. Like life forgot to finish the sentence. A few days later, I'm back at the laundromat. Tuesday. Same chair. Same hum. I sit longer than necessary, waiting for something that doesn't arrive. 2 machines down. An empty seat stays empty the whole night. When I leave, I almost knock on her door. I even slowed down at the corner, keys warm in my palm, heart loud again like it's trying to remind me of something. I don't turn around. I just keep walking, carrying the weight of a conversation that never gets to happen. It happens in her kitchen again. Of all places, the room where things are supposed to make sense. I'm there to return something small. A book I borrowed and never opened. An excuse thin enough to feel honest. She opens the door and looks surprised, then not. Like part of her expected this, and the rest of her is tired of pretending otherwise. Hi, she says. Hi. We stand there for a second too long. Then she steps aside. Lets me in. The kettle is already on. I don't ask why. She doesn't explain. We move around each other carefully, like the air between us might bruise if touched too hard. I didn't think you'd come, she says. I almost didn't. She nods. Accepts that. The kettle clicks off. She pours water with steady hands. I watch the steam rise and disappear. How everything warm eventually does. I've been trying to do the right thing, she says, not looking at me. I know. That doesn't make it easier. No, I say. It doesn't. We sit at the table again. Same chairs. Same quiet. Different weight. The book rests between us like proof of something unfinished. I'm seeing someone, she says finally. Not defensive. Just factual. I heard. Her eyes flick up. From him. I nod. I didn't plan for it to matter, she says. But it does. To him. To me. And to me. I say before I can stop myself. The words don't echo. They just land. She closes her eyes for a second, like she's bracing against a thought she's already had too many times. This isn't fair to you, she says. Or to him. Or to my son. I'm not asking you to choose. I say. I just needed to stop pretending it didn't happen. She studies my face. Really studies it. Like she's trying to memorize something without admitting that's what she's doing. I was lonely before you noticed me, she says quietly. And somehow that made it worse. And better. Both. I feel that in my chest. A sharp, clean ache. I didn't want to be something you regret. I say. You're not, she says immediately. Too quickly. Then softer. But you're something I have to put down. We sit with that. No arguments left. Just truth, laid out carefully so it doesn't cut. I stand. She stands too. At the door, the space between us feels familiar now. Not charged. Just full. She reaches out and straightens my collar. A small, practical gesture. Her fingers brush my neck by accident. Or not. Thank you for coming, she says. Thank you for letting me. She smiles then. Not sad. Not hopeful. Just real. Okay, she says. Okay, I answer. I step outside. She doesn't follow. The door closes softly behind me. I walk away knowing exactly what I'm leaving and exactly why it mattered. Time passes. Not in a dramatic way. just enough to sand the edges down. I stop counting Tuesdays. Find a different laundromat. Start drinking black coffee in the mornings instead of pretending I like sugar. Small corrections. Quiet ones. We don't speak for a while. That's part of it too. Then one morning, months later, my phone lights up at 8:47 a.m. Exactly. I notice the time because I always do. I know this is late, the message says. But I kept thinking about the bench. And the way we never finished that conversation. I don't reply right away. I'm older now than I was the last time we stood in her kitchen. Not by much, but enough. When we meet again, it's daylight. Public. Intentional. The same park, different season. The bench has been repainted. Still creaks when we sit. You look steadier, she says. So do you. She tells me the truth this time. That it ended. That it needed to. That she spent a long time sitting alone at her table with tea that went cold, asking herself what loneliness actually meant. I tell her I dated someone for a while. That it was good. That it wasn't her. We don't apologize for either thing. We talk like people who've already crossed the dangerous part and live to tell the story. No rush. No leaning in. Just honesty that doesn't need to prove anything. After that, we start again, but differently. Coffee turns into walks. Walks turn into dinners that end early. Sometimes she reaches for my hand without looking. Sometimes she doesn't. I learn the difference between wanting and choosing. The risk doesn't disappear. It just changes shape. One night, I'm back in her kitchen, not returning a book this time, cooking badly. She watches from the doorway, arms crossed, smiling like this is something she earned. You still don't use enough salt, she says. You still drink tea like it's a decision, I say. She laughs. Quiet. Familiar. Later, when we sit at the table, knees touching, she doesn't pull away. I don't rush. There's no moment to cross. We already crossed it months ago, just not together. Are you sure? She asks. I nod. I am. She studies me the way she always has. Carefully, like she's checking for weather. Then she reaches out and takes my hand. Fully this time. No hesitation. Life doesn't become easier. Just warmer. There are still looks in public that linger too long. Still pauses before introductions. Still days when the weight of what we are presses in. But there's also morning light through the kitchen window. Shared silence that doesn't ache. A sense of arrival that doesn't announce itself. Sometimes, when we sit on that bench again, neither of us speaks. There's nothing left to finish. I don't know when it became love. I just know it stopped feeling like a question. And maybe that's the quietest kind of ending there is.